It's been roughly 14 years since we first played the Reapers game on Nintendo DS. Back then, The World Ends With You was critically acclaimed for its unique gameplay that took advantage of Nintendo's dual-screen handheld, presented under a jaw-dropping sense of style. Neo: The World Ends With You is the long-awaited sequel to that first game, and rightfully so. A lot of people were nervous about it. Yes, they wanted a sequel, but would it be able to live up to the high expectations of the first game? I guess that's up to me to find out. But before we jump into this review, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on my reviews. Only 10% of you watching are subscribed, so make sure you get subscribed. The story begins right back in Shibuya, Japan, where we meet our protagonist Rindo and his friend Fret. The two are on their way to grab some lunch, but that quickly gets disrupted when a series of unfortunate events occurs that leads them into the middle of the Reapers game. For those unfamiliar with the term, it's a life or death battle hosted by the Reapers. In order to survive this week-long game, the players have to form teams and earn enough points by completing missions to be the highest team standing by the end of it. Those that win will be granted a single wish, while the rest meet a dire fate. On your journey to win the Reapers game, you'll meet some faces, both new and familiar, if you played the first game. The new faces are filled with personality, and some of which become additions to your team. Rindo, our protagonist, is a bit of a social paradox. In person, he puts some space between himself and his friends, but is quite the talkative bubble on social media. Fret is a happy-go-lucky dude who's always trying to befriend the next person that speaks to him. Nagi is a bit of a stereotype otaku who is obsessed with their mobile game Elegant Strategy. Sho, on the other hand, is a bit of an arrogant edgelord who you might recognize from the first game. The contradicting personalities work well as a team, and the well-written story gives each of them time to evolve and showcase them in full effect. Despite there being animated cutscenes, most of the game is told through these manga-like panels that progress the character dialogue in a stylistic sense. It's a good thing too, because you'll be doing a lot of reading, as it's probably about half of the game itself. Luckily, the writing is great, fleshing out the characters and juxtaposing the completely different personalities in a way that lets them shine. And while this didn't beat the original game's story for me, it's by no means a bad one and justifies its existence among the original and its handful of re-releases. With the first game's gameplay so integral to the Nintendo DS's design, there's no doubt that the gameplay and controls had to be changed somewhat for release on Nintendo Switch and PS4. Luckily, the switch to these platforms and the changes alongside them do a great job of respecting the elements of the original while adopting new elements for the new platforms. Instead of being presented in a top-down 2D view, the sequel adopts a full 3D approach with a fixed camera following the protagonist. The interesting choice in angle means you'll get a wide view of the environment as it wraps around you while you walk. It's an interesting design choice by the developers that certainly took a bit to get used to. The world is filled with everyday people walking through Shibuya who can't see any of the other players in the game. While you can't speak to them, you can scan them to read their thoughts. This is also how you come across the noise. These are creatures you fight as part of the Reapers game. They look like Vaatu from The Legend of Korra as they hover in the air, attacking you if you get a bit too close. When they come in contact with you, they activate a battle, and if you stack up enough of them, you can multiply your item drop percentage, increasing your odds of getting more pins. For those of you that skipped out on the first game, pins are this game's skills or attacks. Each of them have a level and stat that can be leveled up the more you use them in battle. They each come with elements as well that might be more effective against specific types of enemies. Each player gets a single pin at a time, using them as their attack for that battle. While most tend to be attack pins, some can exclusively just act as healing skills that work more as support. Each one of your party members and thus pins are assigned to the face buttons on your controller, letting you quickly mix and match attacks as you drain the meter on your pins. As you land damage on the noise enemies, you might see a pop-up to drop the beat. This is your cue to start attacking with different pins or characters to add onto your combo. This increases your groove meter that, when maxed out, multiplies your attack damage and gives you a special finish attack that combines all of your available pins. It's a beautiful and fun spectacle to execute. These battles are primarily activated in the scanning mode, so if you're not in the mood to battle anything, you can just avoid them by not scanning, but the game does try to get you in and out of battles pretty quickly. The noise isn't your only enemies either, because you have other players to worry about too. Sadly, these aren't as fleshed out as I'd hope, as you see some repeating players attacking you with the same sets of pins that just overstay their welcome. This is where Square Enix sort of dropped the ball, where they otherwise did a great job at creating a new battle system. As you defeat enemies, you unlock new pins that you can try out as part of your arsenal, or sell those pins for money and then reinvest into your party. You can buy new threads for your party that increases their battle stats. Likewise, some of them will get hungry eventually over time with the vocal remark. This is your cue to head over to one of the many restaurants in Shibuya to stock back up on energy for the next fight. The gameplay loop of taking on enemies, getting new pins of which there are over 300 to collect and experiment with, helped keep me reinvigorated to keep on playing. Talking to NPCs and completing side quests further developed the social network system that unlocks bonus skills, like being able to see the health of an enemy or risking a harder difficulty for more rewards. It's a system that was fun to play through and even more incentivized to invest in well after the story ended. I was a little worried to hear this follow-up would take on a 3D art style over the 2D one. It was such an iconic part of the art and visual design to the original. Luckily, the transition to 3D didn't lose that sense of style or flair, continuing to be a mix of Tetsuya Nomura's classic character design applied to a 3D model. In the same way Miyamoto was able to apply the same design philosophy of The Legend of Zelda to Wind Waker, the same can be said about Nioh, only now with the more interactive manga style over it. The fixed camera behind the player gives a wide view of the environment while providing you this abstract warp-like effect on the edges, as if the buildings were bending. It's an interesting visual design that only further made me wish this game had a photo mode. Outside of the lovely panel work that feels like it was ripped out of a comic or manga, there's a handful of cutscenes that put Square Enix's production money at full display. They gave off a beautiful anime look only in 3D that not a ton of animation studios have been able to nail just right, but I think it's well done here. That continues into the combat where you get a fury of attacks on display at all times as you race to erase the noise. Now this is available on both Nintendo Switch and PS4. I played primarily on Nintendo Switch with a bit of time on PS4 Pro. On Nintendo Switch you can expect an unlocked frame rate that ranges anywhere from 20 frames per second to as high as 40 frames per second. It completely depends on the situation you're in and whether you're in handheld mode or in dock mode, but typically it does tend to hover around 30. For example, I found better frame rates in dock mode running at a dynamic resolution hitting as high as 972p. In handheld mode, however, the frame rate dips are more noticeable, especially in battles with a lot of enemies or when you're doing scanning. Here it's a fixed resolution of 720p, which might also be the reason why you see more dips here. While the dips are noticeable, especially in comparison to the locked 60 frames per second on PS4, it didn't ruin the experience for me. On PS4 you can expect a 1080p resolution on the base console and what looks like 1440p on the PS4 Pro. The World Ends With You has such a fantastic soundtrack that I was actually pretty scared that the sequel wouldn't be able to live up to it. I mean, Twister, Calling, they're all so damn good. Thank goodness Nioh keeps up and in some ways surpasses those songs. Rest assured we do get remixes to some of the favorites of the originals that still continue to be stuck in my head. However, I don't think they're the stars of the show. Immediately upon starting, I was enthralled by the calm-like menu music that transitioned into rap. It was awesome with some serious Persona 3 vibes. Bird in Hand, one of the new themes that is stuck in my head like a lot of songs in this game, is a mix of hip-hop and rap that just drips of style. Nioh easily is one of my favorite video game soundtracks this year, and if they made a vinyl for it, I'd be sure to pick it up because it's that good. Outside of the music, the English and Japanese voice casts do a great job at capturing the contradicting personalities of your team. Whether they were just roasting each other or having a serious moment, I was invested in their journey and the voice acting made sure I stayed entwined in the moment. There's a lot riding on this long-awaited sequel, but man did Square Enix deliver with this one. Now don't confuse that with me saying that this is a better game. I still hold the original one close to my heart, but Nioh more than delivers on being a worthy sequel. I easily fell in love with the new cast while still being happy to see some familiar faces along the ride. The adaptation of the combat in this new style was surprisingly fun and incentivized me to keep experimenting with my pins well after the game ended. Its presentation, though in a new perspective, kept its funk and flair that was so iconic with the original, while introducing some new songs that easily became my new favorites. Thank you very much for watching my review. If you found it informative and entertaining, then please consider subscribing or sharing the video with a friend. I make reviews for all the latest AAA and indie games. If you could get a sequel to any game that never got one, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, until the next video, I'll see you in the comments down below or over on the free Discord server in my description.